This first image I have here is just because today and yesterday were important days in the U.S. I'm not American, but I fully support marriage equality in the U.S., so big up for that. In my country, I'm from Portugal. I was born and raised in Lisbon, and in my country, we do have marriage equality, which is pretty weird for a very Christian country. But if we have it, come on. Anyway, my name is Hugo. I'm a designer. Being a designer involves multiple things. That's why I don't like to be categorized as an interaction designer or a UX designer. But what I mostly do is UX. And that is user experience. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. You guys can contact me if you want, save this, tweet, and follow me, and email me, not too much, just a little bit. We're going to talk about content structure in WordPress. First off, who already uses WordPress here? That's pretty much everyone, which is good. This is a beginner's talk, though, so pay attention to that. It's not going to be super in-depth. So another word for content structure could be information architecture. That's just a fancy word, and it might be new to you. Have you ever heard of this? Oh, you're advanced. So this is the definition of information architecture. Information architecture is the categorization of information into a coherent structure, preferably one that the user can understand quickly, if not inherently, and that easily retrieve the information for which they are searching. Basically, this is how you organize content, much easier. I like to think of this information architecture as the basis of the user experience. If the content doesn't make sense, the user experience is pretty much screwed from the get-go. Bless you. How we organize our content inside WordPress, that's why I'm here, and that's what I want to talk to you about. Does anybody remember this? What are you doing here? You're advanced. If you've been using WordPress since 2005, you know this. Come on. This is WordPress 2.0. Came out in December 2005, if I remember correctly. This is when I started using WordPress. Things were much easier back then, simpler. This is the current admin that you probably know. And I'm also going to give you a glimpse of what might be the future. Who knows? Ooh. You can download this as a plugin called MP6, and it's the worst kept secret in the WordPress community. It's basically the UI group is redesigning the admin, and they're making it public through a plugin. It's called MP6, if you want to look for it. So the whole idea of this and showing you WordPress 2.0 is going back to the basics. So have you guys, when you think about a WordPress website and you have a complex structure in your head, has anybody ever told you custom post types? Echo, echo, echo. You've heard that. Good. Not good. What I'm trying to do is think of how you can use WordPress with the basis, with a vanilla installation. What can you do with it without having to code a custom post type, which is a daunting expression. Basically, a custom post type is just a custom content, something different than whatever WordPress gives you. So if you want to have a movie database, you can create a movie entry. It's much more complex, also flexible, but if you want to start and not get caught up in that confusion of coding lines and function.php, you probably want to get away from that. So what does WordPress give you by default? Pages and posts. I'm addressing this as content. This is where your content's going to live, most of it. Categories and tags, and something else that I'm going to talk later. These are taxonomies, how you organize that content, how you structure that content. Menus and permalinks are the presentation. This is a fancy word, permalinks. It's basically URLs, the link that you see on the browser. And menus is a way for you to present the content that you just created. So, okay, pages and posts. This is our content. I'm going to kind of list what one does and the other does differently, and also compare them. Posts basically are entries in a chronological order. That's the basic definition of what a post is. If the most recent post is going to come at the top, just like any blog that you know, you've probably done this a million times, you recognize this. They can be categorized in categories and tags. They are included in the RSS feeds. Fancy term, doesn't matter. And they show up in the blog and archive templates of your theme. A page, on the other hand, is a static, timeless content. It doesn't get updated frequently. That's the biggest difference between posts and pages. They can be hierarchical. English is my second language, I'm sorry. They do not come up in RSS feeds, and they support custom page templates. This is kind of a fancy thing that themes can add. A theme can have a special page template that you can choose from. And that's also a customization option. Kind of the differences between them. The things that do have in common that we're going to use a lot is our awesome content editor, TinyMCE. Do you know what I'm talking about? TinyMCE, you know? No? Okay. I'm going to show you what that is. See the bottom left corner? It's basically a Word kind of editor. It's where you can write your content. Both posts and pages have that. Featured image, which is, depending on the theme you're using, it can come up at the top. Both posts and pages have that. And a discussion, comments, both can have that. The fourth thing that I listed here, you can have a page be your homepage. That is a fancier thing that I can talk about if you guys want later on. Categories and tags, how we organize our content. Is everybody following? Any questions so far? I don't want you to get lost. This is not that complicated. It's just the lay of the land. Categories and tags, same thing. Categories can be hierarchical. They are great for organizing content, and they are required. So both categories and tags live just on posts. Pages do not have these. As we said, posts can be organized, and pages can be hierarchical. I'm going to explain that later. Tags, on the other hand, are linear, so there's no structure to tags. Can be whatever you want. They're great for describing content instead of organizing, and they're optional. You don't have to add any tags, or you can add 100, which is not that good. Don't do that. A good example of the difference between these two, and I have this written down, it's so cute. If you have a food blog and you are posting a recipe about brownies, I could eat a brownie right now. A good category would be dessert or baking, right? That makes sense? What do you think for tags? Chocolate. Are you reading this? Walnuts. What else? Flour, water, whatever is in there. Those could be tags that describe the content, but the content is organized or archived in baking or desserts, not in all these other things. So this is a really good way to kind of explain the difference between categories and tags. Any questions? Are we good? Okay. They both can be used to organize posts structurally. So we're going to use them later on to represent the information architecture of our website. So they both create a sense of organization inside a post. They're great for SEO. We'll get to SEO later. I know you all came in for this. And you can kind of have some flexibility with your themes and templates just with CSS. Because usually the themes output CSS for all the tags and all the categories. So if you want to target just a post with desserts or baking or walnuts, you want to have a brown background, I don't know, something like that. There's a third taxonomy that I didn't include because I didn't remember it, because I hate it secretly, which is post formats. Have you ever heard of post formats? It's included in posts, obviously, and it's kind of like a Tumblr feature. You can mark it as an image post, or a video post, or a gallery post, or a regular post. I don't use it that much, but it's useful. depending on the site you have. Our final block is presentation. So we've covered how we can add content to WordPress, both using posts or pages. So posts are chronological, right? Pages are fixed, they're timeless. The content is supposed to be static. We can organize the posts in categories, tags, or post formats. And now how can we present that in a way that makes sense? This is how. Let's start with menus. The menus is a theme-dependent feature, so not all themes support it. By default, WordPress renders on the menus a list of all the pages you have on WordPress. If you have 100, that's kind of bad. Menus is a cool way to organize all the information you have on your WordPress admin into the theme, if the theme supports it. It can use any page, category, custom link for the menu items, and it's a hierarchical structure. I did good. Okay. This is kind of how it looks when you open the menus. So menus are under appearance in your admin. Everybody recognizes this, kind of? Yeah? Sort of? This is kind of what you see when you start. This is a vanilla installation, so there's nothing. There's the home page and my pages, and there's a sample page that comes bundled with WordPress. So I just wanted you to see how it looks with nothing on. Categories, as I said, are mandatory, so by default, WordPress creates the uncategorized category. And that's going to stay unless you change that. If you have content, then things are different. And this is kind of like how things show up with a lot of content. One thing you're going to notice here on the list is, do you see the custom page, custom category? This is what you add to the menu. So you can add from all these content, from all that content, the pages, a custom link, or categories. We can also add tags. If you know the URL to them, you can add as a custom link. I'm going to explain that in the permalinks next. But pretty much you can, this is just drag and drop. You can organize your menu as you like. If the theme supports drop-down menus, you can do this and pull it one level in, and it becomes something inside that parent. So sample page here is the parent of Lorem Ipsum and that other page with comments, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. How you can add custom links and make them have some sense in the structure is with permalinks. So this is where things get a little bit more complicated. Who has heard of permalinks? Oh, then it's not complicated. Most of you know it. This is how the URL of the content of your website looks, like http, / something, your domain / archive, whatever it is, the page name. It comes with default options, but you can also define your custom URL structure, and it's very important for SEO. This is exactly why you came here, isn't it? You like SEO. Everybody likes SEO. I'll tell you a secret. You know what the best plugin for SEO is? This is my personal secret. Like, you can't tell anybody. Cut the feed. Write good content. The rankings on Google are going to skyrocket. It's going to be awesome. I promise. It works 100%. Money back guarantee. Really. So the permalinks is kind of the base for all this. Google and the other search engines, they like a well-formed URL for your posts or for your pages. And when you first install WordPress, you come with the default, the top option, which is like your domain / $P = 123, which is awful. That's ugly. And Google hates that. So let's make it better. WordPress comes with all these options, the day and name, month and name, numeric, post name, or you can create your own custom structure. There's a lot about this. If you can copy this link, or if you go to your admin and click on the link up there, a number of tags are available. That link, takes you to this page in the Codex. It kind of explains how this whole permalink thing works. But I personally like to just go to slash post name. It's a very simple way to organize if you don't have a gazillion posts. If it's a website, not a blog, it's a good way. If it's a blog, I usually go with the domain name. Simple. It creates kind of a nice structure. Domain name slash year slash month slash day, and then forward slash the post name. It makes it super easy to read, to share, and for Google to love it. Down here, and this is optional, you can define custom paths for categories and tags. By default, what do you think is going to come on the URL for a tag? Slash tag slash something else. Tag slash brownie, right? Or the category slash baking, that's what I said, or dessert. Those are how the structure is. If you want to change it, you can change it. And it's just a personal preference. It might be helpful. It suggests here if you want to change it to topics, you can do, and it's going to be example.org/topics/ whatever category it is. So it might be nice. I hope this is not confusing so far. So I wanted to show you all these steps so you can understand how we can bring information architecture inside WordPress and make a website make more sense and easier to find and easier to read. That's the whole definition of information architecture. So I made this kind of fake custom menu. It's a structure of a regular website, and I'm going to run you through it. So the homepage is pretty self-explanatory. The first level, about, blog, and archive, they're all pages, as is the contact. Inside that, the archive, I decided to list some categories. So the cool thing about using categories in your menus is that it's an automatic archive. It creates a page for you automatically. You don't need to do anything. And it's an archive of all the posts in that category. It's super handy if you want to let's just say, okay, you have your personal blog, and you have, well, here's an example, photography. And you want to list all the posts under photography. You just create a menu item for that category. It's super simple. Now, let's say you want to create a menu item for a tag. This is example. This is the only custom thing that I have here. For this, you would have to look at the URL in your blog. So after you set up the permalink structure, you have something like this, hugobeta.com/tag/me. So this is all the posts that have a tag, me. You get that URL, and inside menus, you just create a custom link. Ooh, don't drop that. You create a custom link, and you have a beautiful menu item with that tag, which is not something that by default comes in the menus. And another page. I'm going to go back to this because I want to show you. Here we go. So on that side, you have add links. You can add any link you want. You want to have a link for Facebook? Put a link for Facebook there for your Facebook profile. For the tags, you use that field, the add links. You just copy the URL you have on the browser, and you paste it there, and you call it me, tags of me, something like that. Okay, I think I went pretty fast. Does anybody have questions so far? Can we get her a mic? Please.
Question?
So the question is about your recommendation of using the date and permalink in your blog. Is there still a concern in the latest version of WordPress and performance with a blog that has lots of posts?
I honestly don't know. Okay, let me repeat that, if I understood it correctly. If there's an issue of performance about using the date, not using the date? There used to be, but there's not anymore. He's a developer, designer, developer. They know all the thingamajiggies. Got fixed in version 3.3. That's awesome. Thank you, Evan. What else? Hi.
Once you have a site up and going and you didn't mess at all with the permalink settings, is it okay? Let's say the site's been up for 5 months. Is it okay to change the permalink settings?
Yes, it is okay to change.
It's not going to mess up Google or your...
No, let me confirm something. Evan, hi, can I ask you something? He knows this better than I do. If someone changes the permalink after it's published, what happens? Bad shit. For the most part, you get redirected to the new URL.
If you switch permalink structures and drop predictable things out of the new structure, you can cause problems. But if you're just changing the slug after you've published a post, WordPress accounts for that already for you. Yeah, WordPress for the most part will, especially if you're switching from one of the default options there, WordPress will capture all of those situations. If you were using some very odd custom structure and then switched to something else, that's a little less predictable for WordPress, but it still does a pretty good job of trying to figure out what you were looking for. It jumps through some pretty spectacular hoops in the process.
There we go.
There's a great plugin called Redirection. And Redirection, well, okay, they told me to stay away from it, but we use it. And it actually listens for any changes you make to your permalink structure, which can be problematic, and we've had problems with that before. So you have to kind of pay attention, but it can listen for any changes that you make to your permalinks, your permalink structure. And if you do that, it'll automatically set up 301s. And a 301 is a type of redirect that Google obeys that is good for your SEO. So use it
SEO.
cautiously.
This is getting very geeky right now. I love it.
Yeah, so Redirection is a plugin that's been around for a long time, so it has a lot of popularity. There's a newer one called Safe Redirect Manager that is actually designed to work on higher traffic sites, so will perform better than a lot of the alternatives. But if your site isn't getting tons and tons of traffic, redirection is a fine option. If you're worried about scaling your site, then I would take a look at Safe Redirect Manager.
You got more than you bargained for. Like, you're getting a lesson on redirection, okay? That's good. Thank you. Anyone else? I can repeat it.
Here.
Ooh.
Mike, come.
I was told, or I'm not sure if this is true anymore, that you should really only have one category for a post for SEO.
Yeah, it's common sense. I think, like, if you think of categories as boxes and then tags as labels that you put on the boxes, you can put as many labels in the box as you want, but there's only, like, you can only put a thing in a box at once.
But many people do put a lot of categories.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it
Okay.
for SEO purposes.
Okay.
And you're good? Okay. Huh. More questions? Yes? No? Okay. WordPress TV is an awesome resource. I wanted to list more, but I completely forgot. WordPress TV is awesome. I just searched for information architecture, and these 3 videos came up from WordCamps. It's cool. If you've never heard of the word information architecture, it's just a good word for you to know. I actually attended the last one. It was pretty cool. If you have technical questions, I always recommend going to the Codex, which is a little bit daunting, but everything is there. Asking for help is good. You can contact me if you want. And I guess that's it, if you don't have any more questions. More questions? No?
I just wanted to ask about responsive design. Do you think that's mandatory right now, pretty much? That, or is WordPress accommodating for that if you don't have it?
Well, WordPress is a content management system. Whatever themes you use or design is what's going to make your site responsive or not. I would say that in this day and age, yes, mobile first. It's one of those things. Like everybody has, especially in this town, everybody has a smartphone, and I mostly, if I look something up, it's going to be here. It's not going to be on my laptop. So yes, pretty much get on board with the whole responsive thing, or having a mobile theme. There are some plugins for that. There's a plugin called Jetpack made by Automatic and WordPress.com, and it has a module for a mobile theme if you don't want to code a theme that has that feature of responsiveness. It has a separate theme just for mobile. You can start there.
I actually have a question on that then. Do you think, is it one way or the other better to go, like finding a theme that's responsive versus finding a theme that's great for desktop and then doing some sort of mobile version of it? Is there any, just have you seen best practices? One is...
I think it really depends on the content on the website you're creating. I don't think one size fits all in this case, but it's usually safer to assume that a good responsive theme is going to work. If your content is not good or is just fluff, it's going to translate really poorly when you go to a smaller thing because you have to read a lot. So the whole responsive mobile-first mindset is not only in design, but I think in content as well. There's one good book published by A Book Apart on content strategies for mobile, and I think it's transversal. It applies to desktop as well. If you are very specific in writing your copy, your content, it's going to be way better for both experiences. But yeah, definitely the whole mobile first, the responsive themes for me are the way to go. If you find a good one, there are plenty. Hi. Yes.
Is there a way to
Oh,
edit a
sorry.
theme so that you can make it responsive?
Where are you? Hi. Sorry.
Is there a way to edit a theme to make it responsive?
To edit a theme? Yeah, it's a lot of work though. But of course, it's with CSS. You create some media queries and you make it responsive. It's depending on what's your level and what you do. I don't know what you do. Do you design? Do you code? Do you just blog? Okay. Are you from my school? Academy of Art for the win. Yay. I think it's way easier when you start designing a theme, when you think first of how it looks on mobile and then go up. It's way easier. If you have to trace it back, it's just going to be a lot more coding and a lot more work, because then you're trying to adapt things to a smaller screen instead of thinking, okay, if this works in this size, it's definitely going to work in bigger. Just make everything big, like in Texas. I hope that answers. You're next.
So I actually have a comment to that earlier question as well as another question.
Cool.
I thought there were already WordPress themes that are responsive. 'Cause
Yeah.
I saw there are already.
Tons.
Okay. And my question is, can you talk a little about site performance, especially as related to speed? So how many plugins are optimal, or what are best practices
Girl,
in terms of widgets
I'm a
and plugins?
designer.
And, okay.
I'm kidding. I can tell you what I think personally of that. Again, I'm a designer, I'm not a developer, so, and I have a very zen approach about this. I prefer to have the least amount of plugins as possible, because at the end of the day, the more plugins you have, the more possibilities of, how do you say that in English? conflict, thank you, conflict between plugins you're going to have. And I think of like myself in this evolution, like I started using WordPress in 2.0 because I was a designer and I needed to create websites that were a little bit more complex than just HTML pages. And WordPress was the easy way to kind of have a developer without like being a developer or paying for one. That's important. And my approach has always been like keep it simple because I've been there in a place where I have a ton of plugins, something crashes, my client is calling me, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm Googling like a WordPress crash, and then like I'm blaming WordPress, but WordPress didn't do anything. Like all these shitty plugins that I installed are crashing my WordPress, right? So kind of my approach is always keep it simple as possible and reliable sources. I know this is a stupid way to say it for someone who has no idea where to look. But I'll give you an example, not trying to sell my own fruit. Jetpack, made by Automatic. Obviously, it's a reliable plugin because it's made by the people that make WordPress. There are tons of plugins that are kind of like recommended. If you look a little bit and ask around, ask us, ask Zach, ask me, ask Evan and Eric and everybody, just ask what's the best plugin for something, and we'll try to help you. What do you think, Zach? It's the beta. I look at them and I kind of trust them.
Yeah, I think stars are important. I like to look at a whole bunch of different metrics when I look at a plugin. One is it's been around for a while, but it's also been updated recently. And it has ideally more than one developer on it, because if that developer gets hit by a bus, I want to know that the other developer is going to continue to support it. And a lot of downloads is good too. It means other people are using it. Looking at the support forums, every WordPress plugin has a support tab on it. Seeing like, if you see a plugin with a bunch of people asking questions and no answers, that's probably a bad sign. If there's a really active support forum, or sometimes developers will say, hey, don't ask for support here, ask for support on my website. Go look at their website, see who they are. Is it supported by a for-profit company with a number of developers, or supported by a single developer? You really just want to see something that looks like it's going to be continued to be updated. Because a plugin that works now might break in 2 or 3 revisions. And you don't really want to, you want to make sure that your developers, that the developers of the plugin are going to be updating it to keep it up to date.
Hear, hear. Yeah.
As a WordPress web designer, how do you deal with Internet Explorer?
I don't think that's a question for a WordPress designer. I don't. What? Okay, I'll try. Honestly, I rarely deal with it. These days, okay, I'm going to try to give you a more correct, more proper answer. So I'm a Mac user. I don't have a Windows computer. So I installed this thing called the free VMware, VirtualBox. That's it. I'm not a developer. A VirtualBox. I installed Windows in it, and like I have Windows XP, Windows 7, and I really want to get the new one. I haven't. And I just boot that up and look at the website and try to fix it. It's honestly, this conversation has been going for years. I ignore mostly because IE10 is very standards compliant. So it's if you're good in Chrome and Firefox, you're mostly good in everything. Then you just need to test. It's the same way if you're designing for mobile, how do you do it? You keep refreshing and testing, or you have the browser resized for that. It's just a matter of continuously looking and trying to fix the problems.
So do you think a WordPress site could work in Internet Explorer without development?
Well, yeah, if you have front-end skills like HTML and CSS, and you're building a theme, it's pretty much just like any other website. It's not a WordPress thing, or just any other website will have the same issues, like some positioning issue that's going to be all messed up in IE. It's universal. I don't think it's
One of the
universal.
things we've done at Ustream is Google's been great about taking the lead about saying that they're not going to continue supporting old versions. And if Google's not supporting it through all their applications, we're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
we don't need to continue to support it. And it doesn't mean that everything breaks, but it just means that basically if you're on this old version, we can't guarantee that things aren't going to start looking wacky. And so we do the banner similar to Google, which has been a problem for some of our clients as well, because they're like, well, you know, we don't want to upgrade, but, you know, at some point you have to sort of, you know.
There's a great website that you can send people to called browsehappy.com, I think. Yeah, or .org. Browse Happy, look it up. It just tells people to upgrade their browser. It's a good website.
What do you use for an editor
What do you
in
mean?
WordPress? So that you can go in and you can put code in. Do you use a plugin or?
Oh, no, just TinyMCE, it's right there.
No, it doesn't work that well if you try and put it erases your HTML.
What are you trying to put in there? Be
Lots
honest.
of stuff. I mean, even if you just try and put a break tag in, it'll erase a break tag.
I have not. Do you guys know of a good plugin for coding inside TinyMCE? No? Going once? Going twice? Sold? You know 2? 3? Hi.
Some of the Tiny MCE editions, like Advanced Tiny MCE and Ultimate Tiny MCE, give you an option to turn off that stripping break tags and paragraph tags.
Did you get that? Advanced MC... Advanced and Ultimate. It's very end of the world. Any more questions? Are we going to get more beers now?
One more.
She has one more. Yeah.
I have a
I
question.
like this part.
How do you harden WordPress, security-wise?
How do you harden WordPress? You pet it. Well, Evan is gonna get that. Bam.
I feel like I can't follow that up with
you very
anything
much.
half as good. There's a really, I don't know who asked that question, I'll just look generically at all of you. There's a really good Codex article called Hardening WordPress. Doesn't talk about petting it. It talks a lot about file permissions and directory permissions and PHP execution and all kinds of good stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do beyond that, and that you, if you're running a high-scale site, probably should do, but that gets you 95% of the way there. So I'd say go check that out. Codex, whatever, / I think it's hardening_WordPress, but if you Google it, I'm sure it's the first result.
And keep WordPress updated. That's a biggie.
Oh yeah, update your
Just-
versions and your plugins and your themes, and don't keep
Make
old
sure-
plugins and don't keep old themes and all that.
Bam.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's the only thing I do, actually, on my installations. I never had a problem. It's mostly the hosts that screw it up. Do you have time for more questions? Let's go. Anyone else? I like questions. Just don't ask me developer-y questions. Come on.
Maybe if you can just share some of your favorite themes or plugins, just your top 3 even. I'm a complete newbie, so I just want to.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm sorry.
Favorite themes.
Favorite themes and plugins. Well, Jetpack, obviously. I've been talking about it. Jetpack is basically a mega plugin that connects WordPress.com to your self-hosted installation. Who here understands Do you all understand the difference between what's WordPress.com and what's a self-hosted WordPress? You don't? Okay. So WordPress is an open source software. Everybody knows that. That's why we're here. It's an awesome community. It's built by a community. WordPress.com is a commercial operation running WordPress. It also gives you a free blog if you want, but it has some limitations. You can bypass some limitations with a paid upgrade. But it also has really cool features that you can use. And the way to bring those features over to people who download the software and install on their own servers, that's what I mean by self-hosted, is through this plugin called Jetpack. And you basically need to create an account on WordPress.com, connect it to, and it flies away. Jetpack. Was that clear? The difference between WordPress.com and a self-hosted installation? That's important. Okay. Hey.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. Are you saying that WordPress.org doesn't need to be hosted elsewhere? What do you,
No, okay. WordPress.org is where the open source software lives and is built with the community. So you can go there, you can download the software, it's this bunch of files, and you can install it in your own server with your own database and make everything your own. And this is what I've been calling a self-hosted installation, because you're hosting it yourself with some hosting company, probably, or your own server at home. I don't know. Yeah. WordPress.com, they host it for you. You don't have to think about servers and databases and all that complicated stuff. You just have to choose from the 200 themes that are available there and build your site. It's just an easier way to start.
Do you know if WordPress.com yet allows commercials, commercial process, like for instance, if you're going to use SEO and sell something on the site, you do your own WordPress.org.
Yeah, it's preferable. I know that WordPress.com, so the question, if WordPress.com allows for commercial websites in the sense of you're selling a book. Yeah, you can have a website to promote your book. What you can't do is have like those Amazon sponsored links to sell stuff there. That is not accepted in TOS agreement. There's a fine line there. So you understand the difference between promoting your book and having like affiliate links. Those are cut. Yeah, because of security mostly, I guess. Anyone else? Where were we? Got lost. Themes. Oh, right. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I really like the themes, the official themes from WordPress, 2010, 2011. They're a great way to start understanding how themes work if that's where you want to go. I would recommend very strongly, if you are, attention, this is for you, if you're starting to develop your own themes and design your own themes, there's a theme starter, which is a bunch of files, all the files that the theme needs for you to learn from and build upon, called underscores, and you can find that on underscores.me. Underscores.me. Is everybody writing that down? No? Yes? Come on, write it down. Come on. Underscores.me. If you want to start building your own themes and you know some CSS, some HTML, maybe some PHP, get that starter theme. It's a blank theme, and it lets you just start building your own theme without having to think too much about the logic that goes behind building a theme. It's kind of daunting. But there's going to be soon a meetup about making themes. That's going to be awesome. Cool, right? Off the top of my head, I can't really think of cool plugins that I use. I barely use any plugins, to be honest. I use Jetpack. Jetpack now has so many things in it, and they cut like the need to use others. And good themes. Yeah. The bundle themes are a really good way for you to learn and start something. Hey.
Would you say that's a good theme for galleries?
Good theme for galleries. Well, WordPress by default comes with an awesome media manager. I didn't cover that, but that's another source of content inside WordPress, media. The new media manager that came out in the last version of WordPress is very impressive. And you can definitely manage galleries through that. And in TinyMCE, you can, it's just like you can create a gallery and put it inside TinyMCE and it's done. And it's super easy. I wouldn't require a special plugin or a special theme. Again, like keep it simple, the whole basis of it. Anyone else? Someone I can't see. Stand up.
Oh, okay.
Stand up for your rights.
Oh, God. Hi.
Hi.
Can you password protect image galleries?
You can password protect posts, and image galleries are going to be inside a post, so yes, you can.
Cool.
And it's a wrap, I guess. Thank you. If you guys want to contact me, laugh at yourself.